All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about something huge today, a challenge that's quietly shaping the future from millions of young people across India. And that's the career guidance gap. It's a really big deal, and it affects futures before they've even had a chance to start.
So let me just ask you this straight up. How do you think most students in India actually pick their career? I mean, what's the driving force behind one of the biggest decisions of their lives? Is it some deep-seated passion, a natural talent, or, is it something else?
Well, the data gives us a pretty shocking answer in one simple number, just 10%.
That's right. Only about 10% of students in India ever get any kind of professional, expert career guidance. Just let that sink in for a minute. That means for every single student who gets expert advice, there are 9 who get, well, nothing.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it just lays it all out there. Look at that tiny little bar. That's the lucky 10%. And that huge bar next to it, that's the other 90%, the overwhelming majority, who are basically left to figure it all out on their own.
So the big question is, why? Why is that gap so massive? To really get it, we need to look at what's rushing in to fill that void. What's guiding these kids if the experts aren't?
And for most of them, it really boils down to 3 powerful forces. First, you've got peer pressure. What are all my friends doing? Then comes that immense parental pressure, the weight of family expectations. And finally, there's just a basic lack of good information about what's even possible out there. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. You end up with these life-altering decisions being made based on external pressure, not on what a person actually loves or what they're good at. It's a perfect storm for confusion and just wasted potential. But hold on, this story doesn't end there. As if this wasn't all complicated enough, we've got a whole new twist in the plot. There's a major new policy that's actually, believe it or not, making this guidance gap even more of a critical issue. I'm talking about the National Education Policy, or NEP. Now, the idea behind it is fantastic. It's meant to break down the old rigid education system and give students way more flexibility and a ton more choice. And this brilliantly illustrates the change. We're going from the old system, right, where you had these fixed, limited paths. Now, under the NEP, it's like a giant buffet of options. You've got majors, minors, vocational subjects, so many combinations. The freedom is amazing, but it creates a bit of a paradox. And that's the paradox right there. More choice is great, but only if you know how to choose. When you give people 1,000 options without the tools to understand them, it doesn't lead to clarity. It leads to anxiety. It leads to even greater confusion. So let's just put all of the pieces together now. You take that massive 90% of students who are already lost, making choices based on pressure, and now you've handed them a system that is infinitely more complex. It's literally like dropping them into a massive, growing maze and completely forgetting to give them a map. And this all leaves us with one final really important question to think about. When millions upon millions of young people are making these unguided choices right at the beginning of their adult lives, what's the long-term cost? Not just for them as individuals, but for the entire country. That's something we really need to consider.